and welcome to the SMITE Minor League. Finch here. I'm joined by Anatoly. I'm happy to have you here with me as we move into the European SMITE Minor League. In particular, this first matchup should be a good one too. Team Queso going to be going up against OutCold.
A middle-of-the-pack team against a team that's record is not as good as the players are within them from OutCold Gaming. Been struggling a lot in Season 6.
Yeah, they've been having some troubles for sure so far. I think their only win was Week 1, and it's just been a bunch of losses since then as they've been struggling to try and figure out what the identity for the team is. Let's get those standings up. I want you guys to take a look at where everyone's already shaken up. At the top is Flashpoint, and they've looked very, very strong, but their exact inverse, OutCold, way down at the bottom, and have not been able to get things going.
And this is week number 8. It's time for them to start switching it up, and then in order for OutCold Gaming to get back into this, they're going to have to start winning out, and then Flashpoint, they're going to have to start losing out. A very unlikely set of circumstances, but you never really know in the world of Smite.
It could all still happen. It would just need the stars to align if you're an OutCold fan. Team Queso on the other side is more within striking distance, sitting there at 3 and 4 so far throughout these games, be able to find a little bit more success than what OutCold has been able to do. And I think it's because for a while there, they were able to kind of do some weird stuff in picks and bans that worked for them. And I think last week we saw a bit of a dip, I would say, in the quality of those picks and bans. They let through some very strong stuff and ended up losing to it. I expect them to get back to that identity here this week against OutCold. Maybe try and catch some of these old pros off guard.
It's possible. In week number 2 and 4, it was Queso finding the 2-0 victories up against OutCold Gaming, and it's important to not only find the advantage in the picks and bans, but in the actual gameplay. Julio on the solo lane has always been aggressive, doing some unorthodox, non-traditional builds that's been working out for him and his team.
That's right. This team has been together for a very long time. You know, at one point the Poppies, now Team Queso. So certainly there's some synergy, and I think that's what this team has going for it, that all these other teams can't quite match when Team Queso is at their best. It's just that these 5 guys seem to enjoy playing together, and they play well together, and then get a lot of star play sometimes from players like WorstTurttle, like from Julio that you've already highlighted. And when they're able to get that kind of play, that's when they look like the kind of team that can take down even Flashpoint, though sometimes they fall short of the mark, and then they look like a team that even OutCold could grab some wins against.
It's the front line specifically, not just Julio or Dracomarino, but WorstTurttle out of that jungle position that dictates the pacing of the game, and that's the success that Queso were able to lean on, is their jungle stars, how Dracomarino has been rotating to the solo lane, allowing WorstTurttle to do whatever he wants in the mid or duo lane.
That's right. Those supports are more important now than ever because it's so up in the air where they spend their time. So Dracomarino, if he's in solo, if he even splits some farm with mid, if he stays in duo, that can all have these repercussions throughout the match. What Dracomarino does is going to be extra important because I believe it's Breez still for them, this team that's over there in the support role. On the other side for OutCold came in for half double, and it looks like he's here to stay. And for what it's worth, I think we have seen some improvement out of that support play with Breez there.
Mechanically, he's fine. I think competing in the SMITE Minor League, it comes down to the team overall synergy issues. Before Breez, it was Half Devil. They were struggling in terms of finding the correct playmaking calls. Half Devil has had experience before in the SPL, the minor league, but it just wasn't working out in Season 6 currently with the rest of the teammates. Dimi in the solo lane, FrostiaK, jungle, PrettyPriMe in that mid position. And you also got Spudio in the Hunter. And these 5 players are going to seriously need to find the right shot calling capabilities to find some set victories.
And that's exactly what they need because, like you said, they have the talent. And we always talk about teams with this level of star power on them that you just kind of set up and get out of the way for guys out of the caliber of PrettyPriMe and Dimi to just come in and make their plays. But it's been clearly shown that it really is just not that simple at this point. They're going to need to come in with an actual game plan to make sure they're getting the most out of FrostiaK in the jungle, and he's not putting himself too far out of position and getting isolated, instead of just kind of hoping that Prime and Dimi can come over and clean up.
OutCold Gaming reminds me a lot of the current SPL Space Station gaming roster, where their talent is there, they're just not clicking on all cylinders the way that we can expect them to. So maybe in week number 8, they have something planned.
Yeah, not the only connection, too. Dimi, one time a coach of that Space Station roster, so hopefully, he knows a little bit about what you can do to get out of that slump. But let's go ahead and move then into those picks and bans for game number 1. And remember, the first and second pick, we've been talking a little bit about, which one of those sides has the advantage. There's some talk that say it's first pick, though I've heard some that saying that counter pick from second and being able to pick 2 in a row is really strong as well. So still a bit up in the air, though I think first pick might have it a little bit better.
A lot of teams lean on banning away the Arthurian pantheon between Merlin and Arthur, so that's a go-to for your second pick. You don't want to give either of those options away. Queso have been allowing Arthur through on purpose because Julio has been playing a lot of the Kamazat specifically, so maybe that's something Queso have have planned for today if they can get the Merlin.
We've seen more and more teams at this minor league level allowing that Arthur through, so we'll see if that's what's going to happen here. Queso's already banned away the Achilles, who very often ends up as that 5th pick that gets taken right away in that first pick selection. So that one taken off the table along with the Xbalanque, and they banned the Arthur themselves. OutCold almost certainly have got to ban Merlin here.
I think so, honestly. You want to take away the second Arthurian Pantheon god. It just has so much control in that mid position, so taking that is a safe idea. Normally, there's plenty of throwaway bans in the first pick, but in the second pick, you have the advantage in terms of the solo lane counter matchup, and that's where OutCold Gaming can lean on their strength. Maybe get something very comfortable for Dimi.
Maybe try and prioritize Dimi. Team Queso, though, are going to be first. And very often, when Achilles and King Arthur aren't there, Bellona's considered that next best solo laner. That's why it's picked up by Queso. That does leave out Cole with a ton of value picks still available, though. The Naja comes to mind. Someone that can be picked up. Jing has been a top priority hunter, so no surprise to see that there. Even Freya has been thought of as good and sometimes just entirely ignored. It's up in the air, man.
Something that's very strong in Dimi's arsenal is his ability to handle aggressive solo lane players and aggressive solo lane gods. Back in Season 2 in the semifinals against Baskin, in the finals against Benji, aka Salt Machine back then in the enemy side, he was handling all these aggressive gods by picking up Guardians. We haven't seen too many Guardians specifically out of him or anyone else in the minor league, pro league, but if anyone's going to bring it out, it could be Dimi today.
It could certainly be those Guardians. If they can make it to that early phase, it's so nice to have all that extra control rotating over a little bit ahead of everyone else, as Jormungandr is what rounds out that first pick slot for OutCold Gaming. They already had the Jingwei, and they're going to add the World Serpent to go along with it. But it's Ganesha and Hachiman for Team Queso. And this is so interesting to me, totally. Ganesh has sort of risen, I feel like, recently in terms of priority for these support picks. There was a while where I kept hearing that Ganesh doesn't do enough and he can die too easily, but I think that the Dharmic Pillars and the Silence are getting more and more valued.
It's good space control, especially when you're trying to go for these Gold Furies early in the game. Dharmic Pillar does a lot of damage when you line up the outer edge completely on top of the Fury. On top of that, who knows, maybe it's because you don't want your support stealing the kill, so you use that passive to credit your hunter or whoever's ganking your lane to actually receive benefits.
That's right. We've seen it go over to a rat who's still up in the air, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't even down in the fight, and the assist just goes over to them. So it can be nice when you have that Ganesh who bestows the kill upon whomever was last out there helping do some damage. As Artio comes in for OutCold, certainly strong, can give you a lot of presence in the support role. I mean, if they do it in the duo lane, just having 2 abilities and everyone else has 1 is such a help. She can poke and clear at the same time, so wouldn't be surprised if that goes over there into the support role. Hand that over to Breez.
Whenever there's dancing around the Fire Giant, you're looking for ways to force out specific abilities, whether it's going to be the Hachiman Ultimate, the Hachiman Dash, right? So the Artio can do that safely from a distance using that route, or if you want to really commit, just Bear Dash in, stun, apply the Cripple Field, force out some Purification beats, and then that's where other Queso members are going to re-engage with those relics already on cooldown.
Could make things a little bit easier if you can force those out. New Wad comes in. That gives him a mid laner who can sometimes be kind of safe and get away from some of this damage. If she uses the Fire Charge at the right time, she can get away from this in bots and maybe not be in as much trouble. Though it does also give them a little bit of extra global presence. The Jormungandr can already rotate quite well, and now you add the Fire Charge to that. Maybe it's a sort of a pick comp.
The dive potential is real from OutCold Gaming. It's going to matter how they can get the initial burst damage to play cleanup. And you're talking about more dive potential. Why not add a 3rd global presence?
Exactly. So now look out in this laning phase for OutCold to be trying to catch some members from Team Queso off guard and maybe try and generate themselves a number advantage. But the picks of the teams are in. Let's go ahead and move into the action. Team Queso going to be going up against OutCold. Game number 1. Casters, take it away.
Thanks so much, Finch and Anatoly. It's Team Queso versus OutCold Gaming. Me and Ryan will be on the broadcast today. And I'm very excited to see how the top versus bottom of the minor league does here.
And you'd think that it would be OutCold at the top, right? I mean,
exactly.
Jimmy, FrostiaK, PrettyPriMe, Spudio. I mean, these guys have been around for so long and won so many games. They are at the bottom and have been since week 1. Now they've only won one game, one set.
I'm pretty sure Queso's only been to 1 LAN. Yeah, across the way. There's a lot of teams a lot of players on there that have been to, well, a multitude. Is the best way of putting it.
Won 2 world championships. Prime's been to 2 world finals.
Frosty's been to a couple of lands.
Yeah, exactly. It's been pretty crazy. And Breez, even the newest edition, he's a world champion in Heroes of the Storm. So, I mean, these guys have definitely seen their fair share of success, whether it be in SMITE or in another game, but they just haven't been able to put it together quite yet. But I do think eventually they're going to do it, right? I just don't see a way that this is the bottom team all year. I know people are probably sick of me saying it, that it's only a matter of time, but it's got to be only a matter of time.
But who is the bottom then?
Well, I mean, it's a strong league. Someone's got to be at the bottom.
Man, you wouldn't even commit to an answer there, would you?
I don't know. I mean, at this
don't
point,
think it's going to be OutCold. It's going to be someone else. But Breez at the moment, getting pressured early on the Bellona for a second or two, I should say. I'm excited to see how Breez does, as you were saying. You know, he's moved across from a different MOBA. Here's the Storm specifically. We don't really see too many MOBA transfers, but the sort of method to the madness of every single game that is MOBA all follows the same sort of path.
Absolutely. I mean, working together with 4 other people on your team for a common goal is something that you can transfer regardless of whether it's a MOBA or a shooter. It's just a little bit easier, I think, when you're used to the MOBA pacing of we got a slower early game, ramps up towards the late game. Our characters do a lot more at that point. The way that you understand your power curves is a little bit easier to understand when you've played other MOBAs. Breez, in his first week, looked pretty decent. Again, he's playing against really, really high-tier competition. He's only been playing SMITE for 3-4 months.
Yet they're still willing to put him on the roster, which shows me he must have a lot of potential.
Well, it also, I think, it shows me that OutCold knew that their previous situation with Half Devil, that wasn't going to improve them to the top spot anytime soon. And so I do think that it's a calculated risk. Yeah, long-term investment's the right sort of phrasing, I think, for it. But I like that. I mean, there's a team that understands that, you know, just sitting there and hoping that you're going to win soon is not good enough to win soon. You got to make changes, and that's what they did.
OutCold Gaming's composition though in this one, right? I'm looking through what they put together here. Very passive in the early stages. They're really going to just play around the Thor, if anything, to look for any sort of pressure. For the most part, it's farm central.
It's really been where FrostiaK goes, OutCold Gaming goes. When he has these games where he falls behind early, he goes into farm mode, which many junglers do, but OutCold doesn't seem to break out of farm mode very easily. They end up giving up a lot, and then they end up losing because they just haven't been doing anything with their time. So FrostiaK getting off to a good start. I mean, look, that's important for every team with every jungler ever, because jungle is the entire thing that affects your pacing throughout the game. But it seems especially true for OutCold. FrostiaK has been a linchpin in when this team looks like they're turning the corner and looking really good, and also in the moments where they look their worst.
Well, looking so far, you can see the gold lead is actually stretched to about 500 gold in favor of OutCold Gaming. No kills so far, but this is all just superior farming more than anything else coming out from the boys in red.
That solo lane start with both Guardians over there on that side of the map doesn't really do a whole lot for Dimi and Breez necessarily, but it's more about letting Spudio get that early farm without any sort of sharing or anything like that. And that's where we see some of that lead start to materialize, probably, is Spudio able to go back and get his back harpies much more frequently than Checkio. Jingwei does that better than anybody with that rapid reincarnation passive. And it's just a matter of making sure you have mid-camp control where possible. This Nuwa, as you mentioned, is going to be pretty passive, but her mid-camp secure isn't that bad, and her fight in the jungle early on isn't that bad either. You can take fights in that spot.
Boots are almost online now for most of the players in the game, which means we start to see where the rest of the item builds will go. Normally at this stage, you'd be able to check in with the Hunters and go, okay, we've seen Transcendence or Devourer's Gauntlets, but the meta's shifted over in the dueling considerably, especially with the supports not hanging around so much. So you've seen this investment into Boots a lot quicker for that extra, I guess, power spike?
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little bit counterintuitive, right? Because now we're alone and we can get all this farm ourselves, so let's just stack as fast as possible, but they seem to really be wary that they are still very vulnerable if a jungler is to come over to their lane. So instead, let's get the boots. That gives us enough mobility and enough power early on where we can actually turn a fight potentially in our favor. And then we'll get the stacks no matter what because, again, we're solo farming. It's not going to take us that long to get those up and going pretty quickly. It's a matter of safety more than anything else, I think.
WorstTurttle now still farming up the camps, getting red buff at the moment. Oracle's coming up on the left-hand side, and OutCold Gaming will get those for themselves. Right about the same time, the Gold Fury spawns, which is the right sort of time you really care about those Oracles.
Neither team has a particularly good objective burning composition, though. Most of the time that you really are worried about Oracles at 5 minutes is when they've got
an Isis. Or
Isis and Fafnir and a good Ho Yi or something like that. Neither team really has a solid Gold Fury burn. They really just have to win a fight handedly and then take it afterwards.
Yeah, I've got to look through all the ultimates of our abilities and going, well, who is the best secure? I guess Warchi on Nox long range, Dimi with Jormungandr's ult could really come through. Oh, talking about that from Nox, does get fired towards the mid lane at Breez, but Breez just steps to the right, and Warchi unfortunately misses. Well, it was interesting to see the random bit of aggression there.
Yeah, I think he was worried about the root coming from Breez, and so he just gives himself CC immunity with that Night Terror. It's a pretty low cooldown, but he doesn't have any CDR yet. Usually it feels even lower than it really is.
Well, that Oracle ward takedown is actually going to be more important than you think. Chekio forced to beads after FrostiaK's ultimate. And notice no panic out of OutCold Gaming there. Pretty much stun, let him walk away and panic, and use his ultimate, so both his beads and ult on cooldown.
Breez ends up getting ulted by Dracomarino, but too far back. WorstTurttle was there and could have dropped that Fear No Evil. Probably would have been enough lockdown for a kill. Problem would have been that Warchi just doesn't have his boots yet, so just doesn't do enough damage at this point, maybe, and that's why he was a little bit more hesitant on pulling the trigger. May have also just cleared the wave, but good idea. I think if you drop that Dharmic Pillars, shred those procs, and then they walk out, and then you Fear No Evil, push them back into it, that feels pretty strong to me.
Really surprising, though, to see where Queso could really look to pressure. I mean, Jormungandr on the right-hand side, you're not going to kill him. Once he's got his ultimate online, same can pretty much be said for Spudio and Jing. The amount of escapes that Jing brings is insane. And then you've got New War in the mid lane. So options are limited to a Thor and, of course, the Artio. I mean, Artio in the early game definitely susceptible to ganks, but not that easy to pin down.
No, and even when Artio is pretty susceptible, I love Breez's choice of these reinforced Greaves. He's going to need them.
Breez ripped in place, knocked him after the fight, but a Fear No Evil around the corner prevents PrettyPriMe from getting involved there. You can see Prime was still willing to stay in that fight until the Fear No Evil came through, but the gank timing from WorstTurttle was very good.
Just no ward coverage in that part of the map from OutCold Gaming. You saw WorstTurttle head over to duo lane and then path back towards mid, and there's not a single red ward past the bottom left Harpies, it looks like, on the left-hand side. Got to do a better job of warding. Breez, I mean, that's nothing he can do from that position. If they're going to commit 2 ultimates to you at this point in the game, you're dying as a support. There's not a lot you can do about it.
Julio on the right-hand side on the Bellona, got the Berserker Shield online. Still not been back to base in a little while for those boots yet. But we'll see what he ends up going for next in terms of build. It's kind of a tricky situation because obviously he needs boots. But then do you go magical defense to deal with Jorm a little bit in the lane?
You can, and it probably makes you a little bit too susceptible to FrostiaK, but you can... By that point, you're going to have a pretty substantial level lead. I mean, he already has about a level and a half over FrostiaK right now, just by way of being in the solo lane. So I wouldn't mind something like an Unchile or a Rudic Shield in that lane to try and make it so that you're boxing more profitably. But that's still a ways away. I wouldn't even hate an early Void Shield from this spot.
Round 2, and Chekio has no beads for another 10 seconds, give or take. All comes down from Frosty, just off the mark this time round. I think Dracomarino had heard that. I was going to say sniffed it out, but really he just used the sound of Thor going to the sky.
Well, he's got the elephant trunk, so we can probably
I think you say the elephant ears.
Well. Oh, yeah, that's true,
because they've got big ears as well.
Man, elephants are kind of OP, aren't they?
Wow, I feel like F-Dot.
Talking about animals?
Yeah, I just realized like, I fell down that trap. I got into it. You
took
me down there.
I know. Well, I've just been casting with F-Dot recently, so that's just kind of the way it goes, man.
Straight on to animals. Talking about animals, there's a monkey in the jungle. At least going for the right hand Oracle, so Harpies for the time being. Breez, Fear No Evil. But if you notice, Queso had already backed away towards mid lane, Dracomarino and Warchi, so WorstTurttle wasn't really able to find anything after the fact.
Definitely a breakdown in communication from that position. WorstTurttle finds himself a good spot. And a lot of times, I think that preemptive communication is really good in situations like that. And if I'm WorstTurttle and I know that we can kill Breez off of my Fear No Evil as long as Warchi's next to me, it's going to be what I'd be saying going into those is, hey, as soon as I see Breez, I'm ulting him, no matter what. That way you don't have to communicate, oh, I see him here, let's go. Just stay next to me. As soon as we see Artio, I'm going to drop the ult. And if that happens, then Warchi knows to really stick with you the whole time instead of heading back towards mid lane. And that could have been the case, and it was just a matter of a little bit poor timing when Breez came around the corner. WorstTurtle saw him, Warchi didn't. But preemptive communication is something that really saves you a lot of the time, and knowing, hey, we don't have to communicate, I'm taunting right now. Instead, it's as soon as I see this guy, I'm taunting him.
Well, Breez is still going to be susceptible to ganks for a while, especially by the looks of it. He's going for the Gauntlet of Thieves in terms of build, and that takes a while to stack to really pay off for the investment in it. Sure, it's got a little bit of health to top you up, but not enough to weather the storm of an early game aggression, which you'll see focused towards support. So just keep an eye on both those supports as this continues. Meanwhile, mid laners both going for... Is this going to be a Rudder Tahuti on Noir?
No, it's going to be a Chronos.
Why not Rudder Tahuti, man? It's just like Zeus.
Because you don't need to do the damage. You just
need
the lockdown.
That's what the ult's for. Big ult in mid lane, though. Multiple ults, I should say, from Queso. Double tap comes into play. and Thor's going to go to the sky straight after the fact. Meanwhile, on the backside of the fight, Breez escapes in time, but it might be a different story for WorstTurttle if FrostiaK's got the hammer. He doesn't. There's still Dimi to follow up with the World Serpent.
Man, he's got to hit this last one. Will not find it with the World Serpent. FrostiaK still lurking. Double tap wasn't there, but the teleport was. He's going to use the purification beads, but he actually might be out.
I think Hachiman's on the left-hand side, though. Czechia should be able to cover the option. No ultimate available for Czechia, though. FrostiaK needs his hammer, uses it a little bit too early. Gives a chance for Czechia to give pace, and the bolt will connect.
Nice little eagle-eye shot there from Czechia, who also on that rotation picked up Breez on his low HP. Spudio just can't really get there. I mean, that's in between tier 1, tier 2, even near the Phoenix for that dive. I mean, you can't really expect Spudio to get there to rotate to that. Bit of an overcommit, I'd say, from FrostiaK, but I don't know. I mean, at least he puts WorstTurttle off the map for a little bit and stops him from farming.
Well, you take into account, I mean, OutCold gave him 500 gold moments ago, and now Queso have a small lead with those kills. They didn't get any objectives, unfortunately, but they did manage to find a couple of kills and even the tie up for now. We were discussing New Iron Mid, though.
Yes,
and
yeah.
the Chronos Pennant versus Rod. I believe the ultimate with Rod of Tahuti is really more impactful, because it is.
It is, sure. I mean,
that's literally the reason.
But your ultimate isn't going to be impactful even with Rod in the early game anyways, because the base damage is so low. I mean, it does
150 power. You got 150 power from it.
Sure, but you still get 80 power from the Chronos Pendant, and
which
you
is
get
not
to
150. That's 70 less power.
In the early game, you're looking to just ult for the vision
Safety.
and to get yourself assists. And the safety, right?
Yeah.
Those are the three things that you're using it for. So the power is a nice bonus, sure, but it's also more expensive to get the Rod of Tahuti. You don't get to use your minions as often or the rest of your abilities. PrettyPriMe will accumulate power throughout the game no matter what. And I love Rod on Nuwa. I think you should definitely pick one up towards the later stages. But you can wait. You can wait it out. It's about your power curve, Fram. It's not just getting all your best items at once.
You're right. I am a killer. Let's just put it that way first of all.
True.
But not only that, though, I've got to take into account he's been with Breez pretty much the entire game from the start after the solo lane phase. So he's not needing all his cooldowns all the time. Dracomarino may need some cooldowns now, though, as he gets CC'd for a moment. But Warchi just slows down the issue momentarily, and it's a bit of a dance around the Gold Fury. No one really going to be too confident about this. I mean, Oracles have gone to OutCold Gaming, so they have vision, and there's also a ward down from Queso. So both teams just position him more than anything else.
OutCold would have loved to just sneak away that Gold Fury, but they can't afford to take a fight with so many members having purification beads down. The same is true for Queso, that WorstTurttle and Warchi's beads are just now coming back up. But Team Queso's fight without beads is so much stronger than that of OutCold's. I mean, Hunbat's ultimate wins you a fight if the carry doesn't have beads. Nox combo wins you the fight. Ganesha can win you the fight. There's just so many easy ways for them to win without those purification beads.
Well, what can we see next out of Team Queso? Can they look for an objective? Well, at the moment, the Pyromancer is warded by OutCold Gaming. FrostiaK's on the right-hand side, going to pick up the blue buff for Dimi before returning towards its speed by the looks of it. As Nox returns to base to get some more penetration online. The Oni bows is the one thing I was going to mention next, and the Odysseus bow is something that I think a lot of players are going to start to get frustrated with eventually.
Man, it's so good.
In other roles, at least.
It's so good. Dimi, great timing on that World Serpent in order to immune that Fear No Evil. Now FrostiaK going to keep the chase going.
Sometimes it's not even worth the chase, but FrostiaK will dunk it onto Julio. Julio just walks away after the fact to focus on WorstTurttle. The Breez did a very good job of locking down after Dimi's initial engagement. Nice little play from the over-aggression from Queso.
I don't even know if WorstTurttle has the damage to kill Dimi from that position. Dimi's build a little bit less conventional, I would say. The boots into the Dynasty Plate helmet and the Void Stone. These are hybrid kind of tier 2 items in Dynasty Plate helmet's case, but even then, Void Stone's not super expensive. But they're all in the name of giving Dimi a little bit of protection, but also a little bit of damage.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I think Jormungandr really excels with, is having a little bit of damage on his side to set up those dives and make you really frustrated with that World Serpent.
CC chain pretty well so far into the ultimate from Warchi and the follow-up damage too, and Czechia riding in.
Great shell.
He won't actually get the kill whatsoever. Breez will escape the noose, and now Spudio in on the attack. Czechia no escapes. He just needs body blocks. Warchi body blocks, but he goes down for it.
And that's actually a better trade, though, that Queso lose their mid laner, because he's only level 12 in comparison to Czechio's level 16. That's worth way more golden experience. So a good trade overall, losing Warchi.
I can agree, because also you've got to send Czechia back to base anyway to heal. He's got no choice to stick around, which now develops his Gold Fury.
Now, Queso has vision. They've got the Oracle Furies. Here comes WorstTurttle around the back. He has Fear No Evil. PrettyPriMe going to spot him out, but WorstTurttle has the blink.
Early blink, I think, with how the Gold Fury was. Queso will come up with the goal fury. Was that Draco?
I think that was WorstTurttle who ended up stealing that. One of the two, without a doubt. FrostiaK's in the sky right now. Doesn't have a good target, so he lands back towards the mid lane. And OutCold, I mean, Prime kind of walks around, sees WorstTurtle, and then the blink in. It was really just a good play, I think, from WorstTurtle to keep that Gold Fury leashed to himself. Most junglers would just accept a reset and drop for the kills, but WorstTurtle keeps it leashed. It puts it up to a bit of a coin flip, but it ends up in Queso's favor.
That's exactly the reason I said I think WorstTurtle went a bit early, because normally, if you're going to go for the secure, you go right towards the end, but he went earlier on, and it paid off for him, so well played for him, and gives Queso, well, continue to extend their lead a little bit more. Remember, 500 gold down in the early game. Now they're up about, well, 1,000.
Still within striking distance, though, for OutCold, and I do think that the OutCold gaming late game can be pretty potent. The one thing they have to worry about is there's just so much CC on Team Queso, and this is where you can kind of fall into trap items. I think Magi's Cloak is a huge trap item against Nox.
Against Nox, yeah.
Yeah, she just strips that bubble so easily with such a little investment into you. On the other hand, though, I think items like Spirit Robe are great against Nox and against a composition like this for Queso in general. Anytime I see heavy CC comps, Spirit Robe should be the first thing on your mind because the passive is phenomenal. You get damage mitigation when you get hard CC'd, but it's also that you get crowd control reduction. So even when you don't have that internal cooldown up on that passive, you're still getting CC'd for less amount of time, and that's really, really strong against the stuns from Julio and the stuns from Checkio and things like that. Especially on a character like Breez, who already has some crowd control reduction with those reinforced greaves. I think it's exactly what they need.
So feeling a bit confident about their CC now and get aggressive towards PrettyPriMe, forcing him to ult defensively. Ryan Hoppy's going to go the way of Queso, but the rotation from the dual lane out of Spudio and FrostiaK over here too, trying to make something happen in mid, is forced the solo lanes to join in too. Julio defensively ults and Frosty has gone to the sky.
Yeah, that ultimate for FrostiaK, a bit ambitious. He's actually going to land on top of Checkio, got his purification bead, tries to jump away, but he's crippled out. FrostiaK falls to WorstTurtle.
So OutCold Gaming go for the tier 1 there, and they do get it. Breez is going to escape just about, running away with that bear form back to the safety of his own half of the map. Pyromancer is available. That was OutCold trying to answer about the Gold Fury, it felt like to me, and it felt way too fast with Frosty going in.
Yeah, exactly. If FrostiaK just doesn't go in, then he's fine. You just can't land into that team comp with no beads up.
I think you're going to get away with it. I think that's a big difference.
Exactly. I mean, you have to expect to die. Sure, you got Checkio's beads. Sweet. You're dead. They just got Pyromancer. They're still farming the map. You're already behind, and you aren't. Just a poor decision for FrostiaK to go in.
So Pyro goes the way of Queso. They extend the lead a little bit more. Slow but steady from Queso. And with their composition, as we've been mentioning, very CC heavy. So it puts OutCold Gaming on the back foot, which is a team that, well, wants to farm up. But what is their actual game plan, OutCold Gaming, here with their composition?
Yeah, it's not nearly as cohesive as Queso's. I'll say that. OutCold is really just a bunch of characters that I think can work pretty well together. I mean, the backline dive potential from Jorm and Thor is pretty strong. Outside of the lore implications, they work pretty well together. Those two can really make the backline have a hard time. PrettyPrime's going to try and keep himself safe. Spudio's going to try and keep himself safe, and Breez is there in case those ultimates are down for either of those characters to try and help out. Or Breez can also assist on the dive. Artio, a great character at diving backlines as well.
The lore implications.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell me more.
Well,
you're a big history nerd, right?
I am, yeah.
I care about video games. You care about history.
Well, yeah.
That's a lie. I care about history too, but go on. Tell us.
Jormungandr's destined to kill Thor during Ragnarok. He's gonna eat him.
So he should have been here in Season 1 when all we saw was Thor, right?
Dude, we haven't seen Thor in so long.
I know. I'm glad to see him a little bit back here and there, but he's kind of struggling off and on because of the fact there's people like Ratatoska in the meta who do very similar things.
A little bit. The game has sped up a lot, and Thor is interruptible in a lot of things.
You call it Thor slow?
Slower than some of the other ones, yeah.
He's in the Marvel movies anyway, so that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Are
we allowed to talk spoilers yet? I don't know.
I'm not saying anything about that. I just said he was slow. That was it.
Okay.
How's that reference to a movie? Goodness me.
Well, you just said it about
That's
the movie.
true.
What do you mean?
You're right.
And I didn't spoil anything. I'm not saying you spoiled anything. I'm just saying, are we allowed to talk about spoilers?
I don't think so. Oh, it's Monday, isn't it? It was Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
It was Tuesday, and Monday was legal, so we can actually say officially on air that. No, I won't do it. Listen,
I was like, oh my God.
There is levels I will go to with my commentary, and that is one that I will not do.
Man, that would be
Game of
Thrones.
Savage.
Yeah, that would be truly savage.
Just come on air every Monday and just spoil stuff.
Just recap Thrones?
No, recap every movie that came out in the cinema.
Wow.
To be fair, when you see compositions like this, it may end up being that case that the first 15, 20 minutes of the game will end up doing that.
Yeah, exactly. That would be quite the service, too, if we were like, hey, come on Mondays, watch the SCL, and get a recap of all the movies that released this week.
Reviews as well.
Man, that'd be good.
Hey, maybe we'll make it a thing. Let us know, chat. If you want us to start doing that, we can maybe get that going for you. Oni Fury is currently being done by OutCold Gaming momentarily, as WorstTurttle has now shown up to try and defend. Remember, WorstTurttle did do a very good job in defending the last one, and his presence alone is causing enough of a problem for OutCold Gaming just to walk back scared of the CC chain, relinquish the Oni Fury to Queso, and the fight after the fact may cost Dracomarino his life, but if that's all the cost is going to be, it's not too bad.
Well, they gotta get him, Graham. I mean, he's still walking out. Finally, Spudio has to commit airstrike in order to make sure that he goes down. Walled nearly there for FrostiaK. Good attempt at blocking off Julio's path towards his team. But Oni Fury went Queso's way. Just OutCold Gaming kind of did the hard work for him.
Yeah, OutCold now trying to get this tier 1 tower, and as Dimi initiates to Warchi, which is going to do a lot of damage to Warchi. One more ult's available, and Dimi's trying to choose a target. Instead of going in, he covers the option, which is very smart there from Dimi. Opens the window for a tier 2.
Checkio has to use his ultimate defensively. Dimi getting low, and will die to the overhand smash, but he already did his job. WorstTurttle gonna jump away. FrostiaK disarmed! And finally gets it with that last auto attack. Problem is, I don't think he's getting out of that Phoenix range.
No, not with Julio whacking away with the Frostbound hammer on the back of his head either. And I was going to mention that Frostbound, to be honest. It's not something we see too often, but I'll tell you what, Bellona can make real good use of it.
Yeah, you were asking where which direction Julio's going to go after his boots, and I was saying maybe Void's Shield, something just aggressive but also semi-defensive, really leverages your lead well. Frostbound hammer is perfect. It's better than the Void Shield here for sure. Just really difficult for characters like Nuwa and even Artio for dashes down, and especially Jormungandr to get away. I mean, he just doesn't have any movement abilities to. He's a giant snake.
He is a giant snake. It's true, and he's great fun to play.
He sure is. Dimi had a great fight there, by the way.
He really was.
His surprise ultimate from the jungle, hitting 2 members. It was both carries. Warchi has to use both relics because of the siege from Dimi. And then Dimi does something that I think a lot of Jormungandrs that we've seen, even at the pro level, have kind of missed, in that how does Warchi get away? He's got no relics. He only gets away if I attempt to hit him short and he dashes long.
And then I can't catch up.
Right, so why don't I just go behind him, and then where does he go?
The pincer maneuver.
Exactly. You use your first shot to do some damage, use your second shot to do some more damage, and then use your third shot to just get yourself out of range the other way. Instead of using it to escape, you use it to keep the dive going. Really heads up from Dimi, and we should expect as much.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the one thing about Jormungandr as time goes on, people start to realize that the World Serpent ultimate is very impactful, but the problem being, you only really use 2 of them out of the 3 dives that you get, because your third one is going to be most of the time repositioning back to a safer position or the correct position you should be in. Not aggression, not going for a kill unless it's within reasonable situations, right?
Sure.
So the damage output isn't going to be as impactful as time goes on. Although, Gem of Isolation.
I mean, he's doing a lot of damage right now, Graham. He's got top of the player damage by a large margin, and it is this build. It's very aggressive. No real health in this build at all for him. He's just relying on his natural scaling.
Well, he needs some natural scaling right about now as he
Great
dives
shell.
down just in time, and you correct, Breez was perfectly in the money with that shell, so it relieves the pressure momentarily. That was just Queso defending their tier 1 for now, but maybe they can go into the aggression now.
Breez's relic usage has really impressed me so far with his time with OutCold Gaming. His shell timing has been very solid, and that doesn't surprise me. Heroes of the Storm, I've played a little bit of it. You have to do a lot of micromanaging your actives. Not every character gets them, it's a little bit different, but you have to be really on point with your cleanses in that game because there's no inherent CC immunity that you can gain. So you have to really help out your teammates when they're getting CC'd. So Breez being on top of that doesn't surprise me at all.
So even though Dimi was forced back to base, nothing was really developed from Queso there. They got a couple of wards down at the Fire Giant area. But Dimi's without that cooldown for a moment or two, couple of relics, and same can be said for that Breez's shell, as the Oracles looked at again. I did like the control OutCold Gaming gave to those Oracles early on, because it did develop that window for Thor to try and pressure one of the lanes.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it helped out a little bit, but not even that much. I mean, Checkio got ganked once, lost his feeds and ult. And then after they never killed him during that window. After that, FrostiaK tried again, and he was on a ward. So, just, I mean, this Thor pick has done a little bit, I think, but not as much as I'm sure OutCold was really hoping. 3-3-1's a pretty good scoreline for FrostiaK. He's been cleaning up some kills on some deep dives, but player damage has been nothing really special. so far in this selection. It does bring a lot of threat, and is a pick that even if it's not showing up in the player damage, you have to always respect where Thor is, because he can ult you from that position and really mess up a team fight for you. But I still think FrostiaK has a little bit more in the tank on what he can do player damage-wise.
I will say WorstTurttle really likes mana. That's what I've noticed here. But to be fair, he is playing Batz, which is quite a mana-intensive god.
He is, and that's why Talaria Boots, I think, is such a great call on him. You lose a little bit of power by not going Warrior Tab, but you get the extra movement speed, you get the huge amount of MP5, and then, yeah, you're right, the Blackthorn Hammer.
Like, Talaria Boots, I'm like, yeah, sure, that makes one, but then Jotuns, Blackthorn Hammer, Transcendence, I'm like, mana, mana, mana.
All mana, all the time. Not going to run out of that.
If you only could get a Book of Thoth, right?
He'd be having a ton of power. I mean, Transcendence is basically physical Book of Thoth. You get power based on your mana.
That's a very good point. Look at you. We've just basically made it. Why don't we just make the same item and make it universal?
Because that's not how Smite works.
We could just delete Book of Thoth then, right?
Why wouldn't we delete Transcendence?
Wow, you got so defensive over the Book of Thoth. How dare you?
That's my book, man. I rented that from the library, and it's a good book, and I'm reading it.
Okay.
I've not actually, wait, maybe we should delete book so that I can have Transcendence, so that I can get 10% CDR and all that power.
You've also not thought about the idea that if Book of Thoth disappeared, they'd have to put a new magical item in, which means you get a new magical item and you get Transcendence. See? Long term, Ryan, long term. You got to think that way. That's why I've survived so long.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Playing the long con.
I still am. It's still going.
Yo, Graham, you might want to speed up your con, my guy.
Listen, I don't know when it's going to pay off, but one day it will. It's the same way as, like, gambling. I see it the same way.
No, you're the gambler.
That's me.
There's no doubt about that.
Talking about no gamblers going on here for Czechio. He's going to take a free goal here in this left-hand side because OutCold game we just weren't aware that it was available and taken down.
Can we see wards placed? Feels like Team Queso is just way ahead in ward
20.
coverage, and they really are. I mean, yeah, Breez down 14 wards.
Hey.
To Dracomarino.
But Dracomarino, I think that's right. To be fair, there's an amount of wards to do in a game from a position. I think 20 is too many. But he does have the chalice.
Exactly. He's got Oracle Chalice, so it's not costing him anything. Breez, on the other hand, has the Health Chalice, so he can only place one ward every time he leaves base. At this point, I think you have to sell the Health Chalice. You should have sold the Health Chalice probably 10 minutes ago in order to start being able to pick up regular wards as well. I think the lack of ward coverage has been noticeable from OutCold.
It's always been the issue with Health Chalice for me as a support player because of the fact that I'm like, well, now I lose a slot for my wards, but it helps me in the early game, but I don't get anything for selling this.
Right.
And it's taking up a slot. And there's a certain point in the game where you don't need the Health Chalice as a support anymore. You rely on sustain from your items like your Sovereignty as well as your, well, Guardian's Blessing more than anything else. It keeps you topped up all the time.
It really does, yeah. I mean, it feels really good during the laning phase, and it's just not good after that. I agree. I think that there is a place for it, but you always need to be selling it by this point.
It's more to do with how many consumables you are popping in the laning phase. If you can pop enough to make it worthwhile, where you would have invested that many pots anyway, sure, make some benefit, but you do need that relic slot, for sure.
And look, this is a super small nuance.
Nitpicking,
exactly.
Right?
And that's something that I think that this is the sort of experience that I think I would expect Breez to not have under his belt quite yet. And it's exactly what I expect. It's not a huge problem, but it's noticeable for OutCold. The easy part is it's super correctable. I mean, it's literally one game, and you go, oh, hey, you should sell this by this point so that we can have more rewards. And he goes, oh, okay. And then it's over. And then you're good to go.
It's also not that big of a deal, but as we said, it's at a high level of play, right?
Sure.
And that's where the difference really changes. If you're doing this in your casual games, you still should be correcting it, but don't worry too much about it. Make sure you're working on other things first.
Yeah, exactly. It's
like getting out of stealth. Or gold. Or plat.
Tom isn't even here. Like, well,
oh, I wasn't firing at Tom. Jeez, there was no need for that.
Well, I was firing at Tom.
Why are you firing at Tom for?
I don't know. It just seemed
what did he do?
I don't know.
Nothing.
Nothing.
There you go.
Sometimes, do I need a
Didn't
reason?
rank up. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Yeah, he should.
didn't
If he just won more, then it would be fine.
So at 30 minutes approaching now, Queso still have around a 1,500 to 2K lead as it stands between the two teams. Fire Giant is available. It's an enhanced Fire Giant though, isn't it?
It is. After 25 minutes, doesn't need to go down like it did in Season 5.
Do we always need to kill the enhanced Fire Giant? Do we need to do Fire Giant all the time? Can we not just take Phoenixes without?
You can. It's going to be harder for you. That's for sure.
Is it though?
Yeah, I mean, enhanced Fire Giant is such a good buff.
To push down a lane and get a Phoenix than it is to try and take a fight at the enhanced Fire Giant right now?
I think it depends on your composition. With this composition for OutCold, I'd much rather be taking a fight in the jungle. Thor on Phoenix Siege is not nearly as good at surprising you and ganking you. Dimi doesn't have as much room to maneuver. I like OutCold's gaming fight in the jungle quite a bit, Whereas Queso has a lot of CC, sure, and they can group you up pretty well, but you can also spread out a little bit better in the jungle and take different paths in. You just have to be very wary. Everyone seems to think that being in the jungle means you have to auto-group, and in some cases that's true, where you have to go through these same narrow choke points that gives you a great opportunity to get killed by a Fear No Evil. But on the other hand, you also have way more points of attack. You can come around corners much better than you can in lane, and so if Prime and Spudio are separated like they are right now, it's much harder for them to get double Fear No Evil. In fact, it's completely impossible. So the jungle can help you out against compositions like
Use
this
those
as well.
little hidden pathways and angles to your advantage, and that's the game plan that OutCold's got, trying to keep their carries away from each other a little bit, whereas WorstTurttle, definitely WorstTurtle, will be looking for the opportunity where they group up for just a moment and enter with that blink and Fear No Evil combo. OutCold Gaming have position around the Fire Giant for now. Dimi able to see over the walls for days, so he can just like, hey guys, yep, there's still Chekio right there. I can see him. He can see me too, by the way, but I can see him.
And I can shoot him, and he can't shoot me. That spit, man, goes so far, and with Dimi's build, it's doing a good amount of damage at the same time. So you really are going to have to be wary of where that poke is. He's also using it to cut off these choke points, and that Gem of Isolation makes it hard to walk past him.
Man, you just stole all my commentary points I was about to mention. Sorry. Yeah. No, it's okay, that's your job. For the most part, Dimi, though, has to use his ultimate. Took a lot of damage there after the root from Warchi. Good little work from Team Queso. Getting Dimi's ult first of all, and then also forcing him for a quick recall. He does have teleport, however, so pressure won't be relieved too quickly, but it does stop Dimi from following up later on, as FrostiaK now forced to use the wall and retreat from the mid lane as he was looking to pressure.
Yeah, that's just what Nox does to these tanks. Dimi this build does a lot of damage, and that makes it really potent, but it's just not good at withstanding these Nox combos, especially now that Warchi has finished off his Rod of Tahuti. He's doing plenty of damage at this point. No Spear of the Magus, but the Divine Ruin I think works okay here up against the Artio. It's just so strong on these tanks. Nox should absolutely be thought of as a tank killer because tanks rarely have those purification beams. Breez actually picked it up once he hit level 12, and I don't think Queso's looked at him once since that point. And that's not to say that these beads were a waste. I think the only reason they haven't looked at him is because he has them.
Also, I think as well, Warchi's ultimate not just good for killing tanks. The other reason it's good is because it reduces their damage done with the ultimate. So they can't actually do much, because generally, tanks don't really build too much damage. They'll try and get a little bit where they can, but if they've just got base stats, it kind of gets shut down a little bit by Nox.
Absolutely. Julio's going to get rooted and stunned. Ult actually misses there from Warchi. Julio up downs, went right on top of everybody.
Not sure if this is the best idea, because after the fact New War came in, actually for FrostiaK went to the sky, but Frosty is up in the sky, but he's not looking towards Julio. He went on WorstTurttle in mid. WorstTurttle will beads to get away from that dunk from FrostiaK. And everybody's going to fall back for now. Definitely favors OutCold Gaming there with the fact of how many relics Queso had to use.
Yeah, Queso had to use a lot of relics for their non-carries, though. That's the problem. But now, FrostiaK didn't have to use any relics, whereas WorstTurttle had to use both of his. So that's certainly a win for OutCold. But nothing feels worse than letting a solo laner in particular get away with 1 health because they have teleport, and they can always come right back. And Julio doesn't even need to use the teleport from this position. He just walks back to this engagement. FrostiaK just really hesitant on going deep, and I think that's really in contrast to what we've seen from him the rest of this game. And I think that's why we see him be so hesitant, because he's gotten punished so often for going deep. Great shell from Dracomarino prevents Julio from dying to a Nuwa ultimate, and a great ultimate from WorstTurttle really separated that team fight and prevented the chase from the rest of OutCold, which again de-incentivizes FrostiaK's dive.
And I do feel like FrostiaK maybe could have gone for that dive still, you know?
I don't disagree.
Everything. He could have maybe gone for the kill, but was it worthwhile? Instead, played it the safer option. Primal Fury was aggressed on for a second by OutCold Game, and Primal Fury, quite important at this stage. It does increase the amount of damage you do to camps in the jungle, including the Enhanced Fire Giant.
And that's why it's so important, is it makes Enhanced Fire Giant even a bit easier to take.
No thorns this time to try and slow down OutCold Game, and Dracomarino came in to help out. Julio has the Eagles rally, FrostiaK in the sky, will connect, but a Fear No Evil from WorstTurttle stops that aggression. However, PrettyPriMe with a follow-up is good. Check you after the fact, and FrostiaK is also there. And the elephant will also fall down to Spudio.
Just too late on the purification beads there from FrostiaK. Great combo from Warchi, but no real follow-up. Dimi doesn't take that much damage anymore when he's that healthy. And now OutCold heads straight for Enhanced Fire Giant.
Julio's front line and trying to bait them into a fight almost and allow Warchi to get the damage off, but the positioning, I think, from Julio, just a little bit too far forward. That's what it feels like to me.
The root from Breez is just so good at killing tanks and setting up for PrettyPriMe, who's also a great tank killer of his own. Not maybe not as good as Nox, but has way more built-in prot shred to the kit.
And a little bit better survivability, in my opinion, too, with it, especially with the stealth and the fog. And Fire Giant was started momentarily from OutCold Gaming, but as soon as Queso are around the corner, they don't want to try and take a 50-50 gamble, so instead they reset to the Pyro. Queso start it up, and OutCold Gaming actually going to fall back for now. Neither really feeling too confident here.
Yeah, I wonder if OutCold can have a couple members. Ooh, Dimi actually catches the dash from Chekio, gets both the relics from him. He's still getting low, and PrettyPrime's ultimate will finish him off. WorstTurttle fell to Spudio there, I believe, at the same time.
That was a really good trap, actually, from OutCold Gaming. It didn't look like a trap to begin with, but they danced at the Pyro, and you're like, why did they unleash it? Why are they letting Queso walk in? Well, there's reasons for that. It's because Dimi's going to teleport behind them, knowing that Queso think they've got a power position.
You'd think that a worm so big couldn't be so stealthy, but Dimi's showing you how it's done. He pops up and really catches Chekio at the perfect opportunity. And not only is Chekio now dead for 30 seconds, but he doesn't have any relics, so he's super vulnerable as soon as he respawns.
So now, with 2 members dead for 30 seconds, as you say, OutCold Gaming go back towards the Enhanced Fire Giant. Julio still on the right-hand side. It's going to be a no-contest situation, I guess, out of Queso, or is it just a late one? Dracomarino going to clear out the wards. Dimi was on zone duty and realizes that everybody's still chilling for now. Fire Giant is getting low. Julio and Dracomarino on the way in.
Getting close. Queso gets it with Dracomarino's Dharmic Pillars.
FrostiaK is angry and he's going to dunk on towards Warchi. He didn't find it, but he did with the wall. Eagles running after the fire from Julio. Slows down FrostiaK again. And Queso come up big there. Was that Draco? Or was it Scourge?
No, it was Draco.
There was definitely a Scourge at the same time, but I was like, I'm pretty sure it was Draco with the pillars, right?
Yeah, I want to see Dharmic Pillars' initial hit damage.
It's not a lot.
It is not a lot. It is not a lot at all.
But it does stay still. That's a big difference.
90. He got it with a
No, he's max rank.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
You always act like supports only have rank 1 of their ultimate. I don't know why that.
That's because I think supports should farm to level 5 and then sit in base so they don't take my farm anymore, but can still have their ultimate to help.
And then you still like, oh, peel for me.
Yeah.
And why are you dying? Yeah.
That's
Classic
right.
mage.
That's right.
Been there before.
Yeah.
I get it. Get out of my lane. You don't need farm. Why are you tanking for me? Where's my wards? Oh. Sorry, I played rank last night. You can tell, can't you?
Yeah, I can. It's a bit of a rough one for you, huh?
No, classic.
Yeah.
Don't call that rough. That's a classic.
Man, that is brutal that OutCold Gaming lose that. You can't even roast them for it, you know? I mean, sure, technically that's PrettyPrime's job to be securing from that position. Maybe Dimi could have zoned out Draco a little bit better while FrostiaK was zoning south. Maybe Dimi could have zoned a little bit better towards southwest. But that's a high percentage Fire Giant for OutCold. It just ends up going not in their favor. They just got a bit unlucky.
It's also with the risk reward of the composition they put together too, right? Where's the burst damage? It's really shining metal from PrettyPrime. I think is the best ability they've got for burst.
Yep.
And unless you calculate the exact number you're going to do and realize the health bar, then you can slightly miss time. We've seen it many times from mages before, in big tournaments too. Still happens.
I mean, it's literally the difference between auto attack from Spudio or no auto attack from Spudio, where if Prime fires it before the auto attack hits, and then the auto attack hits, and then the Dharmic Pillars come out, then you can get it stolen. I mean, it's little things like that. Again, in a perfect world, OutCold Gaming secure that 100% of the time because they have an ability that does more than 250 damage on hit. But that's high percentage. It just, sometimes that happens to you. And it feels like that's just kind of been happening to OutCold all year.
Just bad rub of the green, so to speak,
Yeah.
is that what it's been? Okay, well with this, the Goldie's starting to stretch even more so for Queso.
Not that they haven't played poorly, because they've had games where they've played incredibly poorly. But in some of the games where they are playing well, they've had a rough go of objectives or something goes a little bit not their way, and then they can't seem to recover afterwards.
So maybe a split push comp is what they need. Like I said, don't do the Fire Giant.
Yeah, just
Maybe that's the way. The key to victory.
let's see some Loki come out.
Change my mind.
Okay.
Completely.
Don't.
Actually,
don't
no, maybe I
let
do want to see Loki, because it'll either be... No, I don't, because it's either like a 60-minute game because he's split pushing all day,
Yep.
or it's a 15-minute game because he dies early on, over and over.
We don't want those.
I like watching Loki die, though. I
That
think
is
it's
true.
worth it to watch Loki die over and over, right?
Yeah, but what if he doesn't, and then people start playing him? It's too great a risk, Graham. It's too great a risk.
You've got a point. Queso doing a bit of split push opportunities themselves here, splitting the map up a little bit. 2 in the mid lane, 3 on the right-hand side. Is there a good reason for this? Is this because mainly new war clear?
New Walk Clear is really good and really safe on these Phoenixes, and Queso doesn't have a lot of poke potential on their team. It's all in commit and CC on the frontliners. And look at how far back or around the corner OutCold's tanks are playing. They just don't really want to get involved that early on.
Dimi doing a good job of trying to slow things down in the mid lane, right-hand side. Bit of pressure for now. Both these Phoenixes chipped to about 80% as Julio forced to ult defensively. And in comes Dimi and FrostiaK. Two big ult there hits Julio and Chequio, who grouped up momentarily. New war after the fact with some follow-up damage. Not enough to write home about and find a kill, however. But OutCold Gaming do something important there. They defend their Phoenixes, especially against a Fire Giant team.
And now the Fire Giant's gone. No one on Queso has it. Remember, WorstTurttle and Chequio were the two that didn't have that Fire Giant in the first place, so you really need your Hunter to have that buff if you want to be pushing, and you really want your Assassin to have it if they're splitting off towards mid. Those are your two tank or Phoenix killers in that moment, and for them to not have that enhanced buff is a really big difference.
That's very quick. It did make it quite tricky for them, as well as OutCold's composition, Queso's composition. The dive potential from Queso, they really are relying on a blink from WorstTurttle or Julio engagement. And we kind of saw that on the right-hand side, with Julio trying to tank up as much as possible.
Exactly. How is OutCold going to step forward if you're on their Phoenix? And if they're not stepping forward, how are you CCing them?
Yeah.
There's just not a lot that you can do. I feel like I don't even know if WorstTurtle's Blink ultimate would kill Breez at this point. It wouldn't, because he has purification beads. They have good beads burners when you're fighting all together, but not on these Phoenix sieges. It just isn't a good siege composition from Queso. And that's okay. That doesn't mean they're going to lose the game automatically, but it does make it a lot harder even when they have leads.
Credit to Stu, I actually do like the beads on Breez here as well. It's not something you see too often on a support, but in this situation where we just discussed, Magi's Cloak's not going to be as impactful, potentially with the amount of CC that Queso put together here. Getting the beats for the critical moments is actually quite good.
And he's got the Spirit Robe as well, which is something that I highlighted as a near necessity against a composition like this.
I really want to know if this is all Breez or his team's telling him what to buy. You know, one or the other? I'd really love to, Breez to be like, no, it's all me. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty good for a couple of months of playing.
I think it'd be kind of funny if his team, like, if every time he back he goes, okay, so what do I buy here?
Deathbringer. Like, well, I can't find it in the shop. What's it under? It's called Deathbringer.
Just search for it.
Pyro's going to go to Queso, however. Obviously, OutCold Gaming not going to contest too hard on a Pyromancer at this stage of the game. But they may need to do something about this next Fire Giant.
Yeah, I would have liked to see OutCold play way more aggressively. FrostiaK just now coming back. I think he was buying his speed pot maybe. But they knew that they got Chequio's relics in that last fight. He now just gets his purification beads back up and now gets his Aegis back up in 12 seconds. So your window is now gone. That was a huge opportunity. If you can insta-kill Chequio off a Thor ult, that's a big deal.
We did mention the gold lead, but it's still a bit of an advantage for Queso because of the fact that they've pretty much removed most of their boots so far with those speed elixirs and managed to get an extra item online. OutCold Gaming not too far behind them, but sooner rather than later, gold's not going to become as important anymore.
No, this is reaching that point, though. In Season 6, gold stays more relevant longer in the game because, as you mentioned, you buy those elixirs with speed, you get your true 6 items instead of just having your boots, and you want your 3k pots. That's a lot of gold you need in order to get a 3k pot and 6 full items outside of boots. So it does end up mattering a little bit longer than usual.
Very true. Now, though, it's all about the dance of where we go next. Pings from OutCold Games to the left-hand side, looking towards the Oni Fury. Oni Fury could make an impact at a Fire Giant dance too, just because, well, the minions will push in your favor because of it.
Will make you make a decision, basically, or make the other team make a decision on where they want to be, especially when they don't have towers left standing. It's only going to be Phoenixes that they're threatening, especially if a wave like the left wave for Queso right now is pretty far pushed. If they get an Oni wave from there, it's probably taking the Phoenix.
Everybody been pushed over to this Oni Fury, then all recognizing that it could be quite important for the Fire Giant fight. FrostiaK still hanging around the mid lane, sort of a standard position for Thor to be in at this moment in time around the Fury being taken. You can get across with the ultimate and continue to farm at the same pace.
Chequio's just lost half his HP to poke from Dimi alone. Dimi looking to play that stealth snake again, but Eagle Eye spotted him out.
A lot of physical.
Appropriate.
I was going to say a lot of physical on Queso as well when you think about it. It really only knocks with the magical damage for this team. So that's allowing him to go for, well, basically the Hydanian Lion. But there's 2 ultimates used by Queso. Make that 3 as Julio uses the Eagle's Rally. 4 with Queso's Jungler coming in with the Fear No Evil, which gets Prime in a very bad spot.
Prime has to use the Aegis, but he turns and burns WorstTurttle perfectly. Warchi gonna fall on the backside as well.
mid for, oh, not mid for mid at all, actually, no, because PrettyPriMe did live. It's WorstTurttle and Warchi dead. OutCold Gaming on the aggression now. They have a chance to turn this into their favor. Chekio's very low, and Dimi is just spitting hot breath on everybody until Chekio finds a couple of basics that brings him down. Only Dracomarino left standing to deal with 4 members of OutCold Gaming.
Good wall from FrostiaK, but clear the obstacles. Well, clear the obstacle and get right through it.
It's not, it doesn't clear it. You just move through it.
You clear it. It doesn't get cleared, but you clear it yourself. Great fight, though, from OutCold. Just an overinvestment from Queso into Breez. I mean, this is a 6-slotted, full-build Artio level 20. You're just not going to kill her with that level of investment. Spudio.
Wow. Draco doing great work to slow this down, but PrettyPriMe is back too. Full minion wave coming in, Ryan. This should be a Phoenix. Can they end the game off this?
I think so. I mean, they've got 20 seconds on Warchi, 17 on WorstTurttle. This is a good opportunity.
I really wasn't that confident that they could do this off that one push. I was kind of sat there like, okay, they're going to get a Phoenix, fall back to Fire Giant, but no. OutCold Gaming may have just done enough towards the end. Sure, they had a small advantage in the farming stage in the early game, but the majority of that was Queso's control.
Much better from OutCold Gaming, and remember, this is with them losing a Fire Giant, an enhanced Fire Giant, in a really rough time in the game. So they bounce back and play pretty well. PrettyPriMe hits late game Nuon, just does 1 million damage, but for me, that game was basically all Dimi. I mean, his mid game completely changed the course. I mean, it was close, and then Dimi started rotating in and doing 1 million damage, a ton of control, and really changed the pace of the game.
Well, with that, that's game 1 down. Can we see OutCold Gaming close this out 2-0? Will Queso come back? Let's go to the desk to break down game 1.
Man, it's hard to say. Based on what OutCold has done up until this point, I would not guess a 2-0, but based on what we saw in that game, maybe it actually could happen. And Totally, talk to me about what happened here, because it felt like this was mostly Queso's game. The early game was kind of OutCold, but then the entirety of that mid-game was Queso. But I feel like as soon as Dimi started getting more involved, things turned to OutCold.
The Jormungandr played a big impact in the later stages, being able to dive with the World Serpent. OutCold Gaming dropped the lead when they allowed WorstTurtle's Hunbats to just walk up to the Gold Fury and steal it with a basic attack. Impressive stuff from the Hunbats at that stage of the game. But then towards the later portion, it was 10-8 at 45 minutes, Finch. That's how close this game was. 18 kills in 45 minutes, that's almost unheard of. But these two teams very even in this game, despite their records showing otherwise. Had one team fight surprisingly end around the Gold Fury when they were all trying to go onto the backline. WorstTurtle tries to make a play onto PrettyPriMe. He gets punished first, and then Dimi makes a bigger impact alongside FrostiaK, taking out Warchi. They keep on chasing, finding 2 more kills for the end.
And it was really Dimi, I think, sitting on top of Chekio towards the end of the game that really started turning it around in particular, because Chekio didn't have those 2 deaths until like beyond the 30-minute mark in this game. He had gone largely untouched. And then on one of those Fire Giant dances, Dimi makes a point to dive beyond the fight, get all the way to Chekio, and kind of set up for his team to push past Team Queso and come take him out of those early. There was such a big impact from this Hachiman, 26,000 damage, almost the top in the game, at least top for his team, and Dimi made a point to make sure they got rid of that.
And Queso had the enhanced Fire Giant trying to siege that right side Phoenix. OutCold Gaming doing a wonderful job holding that Phoenix around the 40-41 minute mark, where they were able to use their long range poke. Very difficult to siege against a Thor, an Artio, Nuwa, even the Jing Wei that can knock you up a little bit closer.
You're exactly right. That's the wall that I think Queso hit, is that they didn't really have a way to get in. I think Ryan hit the nail on the head when he was saying they didn't really have any ranged CC or anything they could easily apply, especially with how safely and how far back Nuwa could clear. There was really no way for them to find their setup. The best they could hope for was that WorstTurtle could blink initiate with the Fear No Evil, but even then it wasn't enough. Even Breez on Artio had beats.
Yeah,
it just wasn't going to be enough.
It was a great pickup because that late game team fight, they all focused out this level 26 slotted Artio. Did not work out well for Queso, but at least they have another shot in this next game.
That's